We have Emily Smith from ServiceTitan is going to share with us about the reference process that she's used, and she's going to be like an open book. She has lots she can share. So she was like, "How long do you want me to talk? Because I could talk forever." So she did say that she is open to us jumping in with questions. So she might have to talk forever.
Yeah, I did put together, well, first of all, hello everyone, I'm Emily. I work at ServiceTitan and I've got two Brittany's. So Brittany De Diego Habel and Brittany Burgess. They both are on my team. Brittany's our manager. Brittany D is our manager. Geez Louise. It's been like 5 months and I still can't get that together. Um, but yeah, so they're both on the team as well. So I know that they, will jump in and share different expertise and everything too. But I did put together some slides. They're very wordy. Brevity is not my strong suit. Just figured some light reading material while I'm chatting through. But like she said, if anybody has any questions, please hop in. This is just kind of an overview of what our reference process looks like and what we've kind of put together and what works for us, and then where we're really looking to hopefully take it. So I will go ahead and share. So it says that screen sharing is disabled. So Mary, if I send you the
Oh,
presentation too.
yeah, I do this every week. Somebody's like, "Can I share something?" There you go. Oh, we still have a couple people coming in, so let's give them just a minute. Hi, Leslie. How are you?
Hi, doing good. Hi, everybody.
Good. Caitlin, how are you?
Good, good. I was just saying it's gotten so nice here. It's 40 and sunny. We're looking up.
We have almost no snow now, so
Yeah,
I'm
ours is
about
totally gone.
yeah, I'm about 3 hours east of Caitlin.
Crazy.
Okay, let's see. I think we can get started. Go ahead. So Emily Smith is again going to talk with us about references, and we can jump in and interrupt as we have questions.
Yeah, so I have been working in references at ServiceTitan for about 2 years. And so this is just kind of, like I said, an overview of the process that we currently follow and a little bit about our advocacy network. So I will go ahead and share. But basically, to kind of start off, is we've got our advocacy program, which is called the Torch Network. As you will see, there's a little bit of a fire theme. We have something down there called Spark Session. So we do kind of follow a little bit of an fuego branding as we go throughout there. But as far as perks for everyone that joins our advocacy program, they get co-branded marketing opportunities, brand exposure, special events. So as you can see from my background here, there is an event series called Torch Network Live that is a webinar series that we run once per month that chats through how to use our product, talks about best practices, business practices, thought leadership. So a lot of different opportunities there that's exclusive to them as Torch Network members. There is an online community group within our ServiceTitan community that is exclusive to them where they can network and communicate with each other. They get discounted to Pantheon, which is our annual conference. It also includes at Pantheon, a private lounge for them, interaction with executives, a lot of swag, both at Pantheon as well as when they join, they get a fun little swag box for them, and then opportunities to directly impact our product roadmap. So working with the product team, joining product advisory groups, really just kind of getting to inform that roadmap year over year. And then we do have metrics and requirements to join. So one of the easiest ones is that they just need to be on the platform for 6+ months, but then that they meet certain utilization metrics that we've determined with the team. And then we do a lot of cross-functional partnership in order to get these nominations on a steady state. Our goal is to really hit about 10% of our overall network. So that is kind of the plan there. And so to do that, we do partner with our success managers. So we use Bonusly to provide different spiffs, and that's how we target some of our gaps. So if we have vertical gap, size gaps, we'll do targeted pushes that way to partner with them. We do also partner with, like I said, Fire Theme, our Spark Sessions team. So Spark Sessions are cohorts of about 10 to 15 non-competitor companies that meet monthly. So that's kind of a networking group where we try and build community on a little bit more smaller scale. And they have program facilitators that take them through different topics every single month. And so we partner with them for them to kind of say at the end of every session of like, yay or nay, this is who would be a good fit to join the Torch Network. And then customers can also nominate themselves. So we have a form on the website. We also have a form in community where they can raise their hand and say, yes, we'd like to be a part of it. So that's kind of what that looks like. I'm not monitoring chat because I don't have a double screen today. So are there any questions that came through, Mary, that I can answer? Oh, wait, you're on mute. Sorry.
Mute.
Just side chatter. We're the peanut gallery here
Oh,
only.
cool. Okay, perfect. All good then. Yeah, and obviously the Brittany Squared knows the answers to pretty much every question as well. So, but looking at the types of references that we handle. So we handle 3 different types of references. Obviously, you've got the bread and butter of sales references. We also have a happy calls process. So this is a little bit unique to us in the fact that we did partner with a subject matter expert. So we partnered with a man named Mike West. He was one of the very first users of ServiceTitan ever, and really, really successfully grew his business. So he grew it from 1 location to 9 locations while using ServiceTitan. He crossed into a couple of different states with his business. So what we have actually done is partnered with him, and he is a contractor with us where he is paid. So that is the only time that we have paid references. So everything else is recognition versus reward. But this is the only time, so we do pay him a flat rate with an additional kicker if the deals do close. But he does both outbound calls as well as takes traditional reference calls. So if there's ever a prospect that seems dead in the water, he'll make an outbound call. He'll talk to them about his direct business experience. So that does work really well. And he's got an absolutely phenomenal close rate because he does have that rapport with all of those customers and is really well known in his industry. And then we've got peer-to-peer conversations. So those conversations are if we have existing customers that want to speak about workflows, best practices, overall adoption. This is something that success managers offer. It's also something that onboarding managers will offer. So what we do see across our references is, so ServiceTitan services the trades industry. The trades industry is a more casual group. And so a lot of times when we're connecting references, it's not CTOs, CIOs, anything like that. We're connecting them with 2nd, 3rd generation family business owners. So a lot of times it's owner to owner conversations about how they're running their small businesses. And so that's where these become really, really valuable. The sales cycle that we see for ServiceTitan and for people adding our software is a lot faster than you would typically see. It's not 10, 12 months. It can be 1 week, it could be 1 month. It's a really, really fast sales cycle. So because of that, we're doing really high volume references and we're doing them really quickly. So we're doing.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
I just have a couple questions.
Yeah,
Are you talking about the peer-to-peer right now or the happy calls still?
So sorry, I'm talking about kind of both. So I'm talking about, so sales references, the sales cycles are extremely quick. So that's where we're doing references. We're typically seeing about 20 to 40 of them per month. And then with the peer-to-peer, they're also equally, they do take a little bit longer because the requests are a lot more niche, but we are getting about 20 to 30 of those per month as well on average. And so so we're doing pretty high volume, which is why we're definitely looking to develop and scale to a one-to-many process on the peer side to make it a little bit more manageable for us and kind of tapping into community there. And that's kind of why on a call a couple of weeks ago, I was trying to mine for ideas on a one-to-many process, because it's definitely not tenable for us to continue to do as many one-to-one calls as we're currently doing.
Right.
So that's kind of where we're trying to figure out a more scalable process there. But the sales ones, they really do want to have a lot of those one-to-one conversations. And it's different than we'll see in a lot of other references programs where they want to make sure that what we're saying for their business will happen. And what we've seen, and what I've seen more than in any other industry I've been in, is you could have a salesperson read the same script as somebody in the industry, and they will sooner listen to the person in the industry and be like, yep, I believe that. So they're really, really valuable calls for them. And so it's definitely something.
What does ServiceTitan do? What do they sell? Software, yes.
So we sell end-to-end business software for the trades. So think HVAC, plumbing, commercial, construction, really all of
Gotcha.
that.
Okay.
So it's, yeah, so you do see kind of it runs the gamut there where you've got these really large businesses that have private equity that's involved in all of that, but then you do also have quite literal mom and pop business shops that,
Gotcha.
have been family for 2, 3, 4 generations and have been continually passed down. So
Is it,
it's
are they like yearly contracts?
so it is a monthly, but then on a yearly cadence, but it's a monthly subscription. So they base it based on the number of technicians that they've got. So the technicians that are in the field, that's kind of how it's all shaking out. Brittany, am I
Gotcha.
communicating that?
Yep,
Great,
yeah,
thank you.
it's an annual contract, but we collect revenue monthly through fees. So it's when we're looking at these deal sizes, it's CMRR that's based on the number of licenses, which is all around the technicians in the field.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. And because you have so much success with them wanting to see that other people in the industry use the software, that's why having that one contractor like that goes really well, right?
Yeah, and that was something. So he actually had approached us about it. And so the reference program started with one-to-one calls for sales. And so for any prospects and all of that. But then he actually approached us when he went into retirement and was like, I love ServiceTitan. I love talking about ServiceTitan. I'd love to keep getting paid to talk about ServiceTitan. And so what that really did for us was it helped a lot because he can take the calls that are a little bit more straightforward. So is it worth the money? Is it going to grow my business? Does it do what it say it's going to do? And he can have
Right.
those really basic conversations with people that want a more general call, and he can make those calls within 24 hours. So we can get him on the phone with these people basically as soon as they request a reference. And he does communicate at the beginning of the call that he is being compensated for the conversation that he's having, but
Okay.
really his business acumen speaks for itself. And so it is worth it for us to have him make that disclaimer at the beginning. And it really hasn't taken away his credibility. I would say there's maybe 1 or 2 that are like, okay, I want someone that's not on the payroll, but
Right.
most of the time it's a really valuable conversation with them. And he genuinely loves speaking about it. So our mindset is
Oh,
many
that's
times as we can get him on a call, we do it. But it's been a really great process. And then as far as sales goes, so we do sale regular prospect sales, but then we also do upsell sales requests. What we have seen is just, and I'll get into metrics as well, but with our references, we are seeing that the close percentage is significantly higher than just the general deal cycle. So we on average have a 50 to 80% close rate on deals with references, and we are fulfilling them, like I said, really quickly. So our SLA is that within 4 business days, we have a customer that has agreed to take this call. Where
okay.
we do
And can I just ask?
Yeah, of course.
I have a lot of questions. First
Yeah.
of all, so with that, what kind of system are you using that helps you keep track of your references and being able to go in and pull that metric to say, yes, 50% of our sales calls close faster?
Yes. So there we go. So
Oh,
to answer your
and somebody
question,
wanted to know if you'll be able to share the slides.
yeah, absolutely. So I made them really wordy with the intention that if anybody wanted to review them after, that they would be able to. Yeah, more than happy to share them. But yeah, so we actually don't currently have a reference tool that we're using. And it was something that we kind of chatted about. So in my previous company at DocuSign, they did use RO Innovation. Where we did struggle with that was that we could not get the budget to get enough licenses for the sales team to be involved. And so we don't currently have a formal reference tool, but we've actually put together something that is extremely efficient. I can't take a lot of the credit for it because Brittany D is the one that kind of masterminded this entire thing and put this whole process together, but all of it's done through Salesforce. So we have a requester that can fill out a form via a custom object in Salesforce. So this is kind of a screenshot of what that looks like. We pull together a lot of information from them. It also links directly to their opportunities. So we can see what stage the opportunity is at. We can also show where our reference status is. So customers or requesters can see how far along we are in the process. We can also put customer participation there. So each advocate or each we call them Torchies, our Torch Network members, but they have a unique customer reference program number that tracks their participation across our sales, marketing, and research requests. So it tracks advocacy participation at the contact level in Salesforce. And anytime we onboard a new customer into the Torch Network, they fill out a survey, covers a lot of different information as far as their favorite product, what activities they want to participate in, what they want to see changed, a lot of different things there. So we put all of their survey responses in that one spot as well, so that we can just go into Salesforce on that customer contact level and see everything from everything they've accepted, everything they've declined. We could also pull reporting on what their deals, like how, like what their close rate is on an individual level. So there's a lot of different information that we can look at. And then we partnered with corporate engineering to develop what we call a reference finder tool. So we partnered with the team, and over a few months, we worked out basically a scoring system. So it looked at all of the different data points here that a requester needed. So we need them to be this size, in this geo, in this vertical, and going through all of that. And basically then looked at our advocacy network as a whole, and then would score references based on how many of those requirements that they met. And so we basically just get an email directly to our inbox that says, for this reference, here are all of the people that score highest for this reference. It's not a perfect system, but ideally the way that it's supposed to function is that you go right in and say, yep, that top person works. We do a lot of additional vetting. So we go in, we look at their NPS scores, we look at their social media comments, we look at if there's any escalations, if, you know, the last time they had a success call, we look at a lot of other metrics too before we do make an ask. But it really does help kind of take the bulk legwork out of doing a lot of manual searching there to have them kind of spit out a top answer there.
Wow.
That
I could do the whole call just on that. I think people would be like, whoa, that is great. Can I ask, it's kind of different from this topic, but does your community participate? Like, how does it participate with the advocacy program, or is there no connection there?
So we've got the customer community. We do have, like, we put references out there on our community group if people want to raise their hand and participate. The community group that we've started is only a few months old, so it is relatively an infancy stage. The goal is that it will bear the weight of a lot of the peer requests, so those peer-to-peer connections. We've started to share them there, and a lot of customers have raised their hands to have those conversations. So it's definitely something that we're working towards, but as of right now, it is still more on Brittany and myself as the reference managers there to fulfill, but it's definitely a goal.
Cool. Thank you. I was just curious.
So then SLAs, I know was a comment that a lot of people made. So this is a very wordy slide, but basically we've got a few different types of SLAs. So for us as reference managers, as I mentioned, we find a match for them within 1 business day. We do communicate the reference need and get approval from the advocate CSM before we reach out. So we do a lot of vetting. We do our due diligence. We do feel pretty confident about the matches that we find, but we never want to reach out without a CSM being aware of it, approving it. We then have templates that we've created that outline a lot of language around what type of request it is, if it's a peer request versus a sales request, who's requesting the reference. We link out to their website. We share information about their business. We share why they're requesting the reference, what they want to talk about. But we share all of that. Once we get the green light from the CSM, we send the email directly to the customer to ask them if they're available to take this call so that they can go in with all of the information necessary there. And then our SLA is that we find an advocate that agrees to be a reference within 4 business days. Our current average is about 2 business days. So we definitely aim to do it in fewer days than 4. And most of the time we hit that, but we do commit to 4 business days just because the sales cycles are so quick that once they request a reference, a lot of times, and I'm sure this is not a foreign concept to anyone either, as soon as sales requests it, they need it 2 days before they ask for it. So it's definitely a very quick process there. But then we do have SLAs for the requesters just to kind of mitigate some of the issues that we're seeing there, is that sales can't request a reference before the prospect has seen a demo. So we want to make sure that they're asking really intelligent questions and have seen the software before they're engaging an advocate to speak with them. The only exception to that rule is happy calls. So that's where Mike, our contractor, will call them directly. And so they can be at any stage there and really help re-engage them that way. They can't request multiple references or an on-site visit for SMB deals. And then the requester is not allowed to attend the reference call. We want to ensure an organic conversation. So they are not allowed to join. And then one of the things that we have built in to make sure that we can get the data and metrics that we need is that the AEs do need to close out their reference request. So there is a process to close out and say, this customer took it. Yes, the call happened, and any notes and all of that there. And there's actually a stopgap that's built in where they can't close their deals in Salesforce until their reference is closed out. So that's just how we make sure that we can capture as much data as possible of what references are actually happening and what ones are not happening.
Wow. One question, Andrew wondered, are you getting the CSM approval within Salesforce? Never mind, Brittany already answered. So that's that. I have a feeling that you're very efficient with your tools because doing all of this is so much moving around. Do you have some automations in there that, like, if you check certain things, it will send the email for you or anything like that?
So we've had a lot of conversations around that. So there are some things that are automated. There are some things that aren't. Andrew, what you asked is actually something that we did have a conversation about. We did almost build out a functionality where when we matched, it would automatically send a message to their CSM saying, your customer's been selected. Are you okay with it? Yes or no? It just, with our team members, like they said, it was faster and easier just to get a Slack yes or no. And then what we've tried to do is just kind of keep the power in our own hands as much as possible to make sure that, we know when advocates are being reached out to. The reason that we don't have an automated template is because there's so much manual data that's changed, because we do provide the business name, the link to their website, and talk about specifically what they want to speak about. There are just too many things in the template that are personalized for every single outreach that it didn't make sense to have it be automated. So it was a conversation for sure, but there's definitely some places where to keep that personal connection and touch with our advocates, we've done it a little bit more manually.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And we're very, very protective of our advocates. We love our torchies. And so we have put SLAs in place to make sure that we don't have reference fatigue. We don't have reference burnout. Obviously, we do still have the times when sales or success will reach out without us knowing, but we do try and make it as easy as possible for them to at least loop us into the conversation. So one of the ways that we've partnered with them is, we know you have existing relationships. We know you've got partnerships with your customers. We don't want to get in the way of that. If you can just let us know who you want to reach out to so that we can vet it on our end to say, yes, we can confirm that they're not competitors or that there's not an escalation or anything like that. And then that we can also track their participation, because there definitely have been times where we've reached out to a customer not knowing that their success manager reached out to them 2 days prior, and it's not the best look. So that's just kind of what our Band-Aid fix is there, of like, yes, you can reach out directly on your own. We're not going to make you go through our full process if you don't want to, but just let us know so we can track participation and make sure that they're not getting a ton of outreaches. And we do try to limit outreach to advocates to once per quarter. In the joining of the Torch Network, we tell them that they have to be open to at most one activity per month, but we do try and only keep it to once per quarter, so we're not bugging them every single month. But yes, like Brittany said, mama bears for sure. We protect them very, very much. We love them all so much. They're a really, really fantastic bunch of people. So we want to make sure that we're using them as efficiently and effectively as possible. And then just the one other thing there is that advocates don't schedule the calls. We have had instances where we have lost an advocate and we have lost a deal because they could not find a mutual time to schedule and they got in a fight over email. That was definitely my least favorite email to read. So that is the example that we provide. And so what we tell the requester is, you're requesting this, it is on you to make sure you get this scheduled. So you're dealing with figuring out their calendars. You are putting the calendar invite on their calendar. You're giving them the Zoom link. You are making it as easy as possible to tee them up for success. We provide them with a ton of templates on how to do that. and step-by-step instructions on what they need to do. But we do just ask that they schedule the calls. They don't attend them, but they do make sure that the onus of scheduling is on them.
Question on that part. So once the call is done, how do you ensure that that rep or whoever lets you know that that call has been completed so that you can track that?
Yep. So in that screen that I was showing, I'll go back here. So where it says reference status right here, where it says new, there are multiple different drop downs there. So there's drop downs to show when it's matched, when it's awaiting approval, when it's been fulfilled. There are then additional things for once the reference has been completed. So they have to mark that it's been completed, or they mark that it did not run and then what reason it did not run, because there's sub statuses underneath of prospect didn't show, reference didn't show, so that we can get as much data there as possible. And then outside of the screen, I didn't get a big enough screenshot, but we also attach the customer there. So basically we have a closeout process where once a call happens, they go in, they say, this customer completed this call, and then we have the reference as a whole has been completed, so that we then have tracking there of which calls did and did not happen.
And I believe you said that they can't close out the sale unless they've done this, right?
So that is what we have for sales. Unfortunately, we do have a little bit of a tougher time getting success to close their deals out. So that's where it is a little tougher when we have the peer-to-peer conversations. We have to chase them a little bit to close out their reference calls. But that is actually another thing that we've built into our SLAs, is that if we have a success manager that has more than 3 reference requests that haven't been closed out, we will not fulfill any additional references for them until they close all of those out. So
Wow.
those are something that we try to build it in. So it's like, if you're not giving us the data that we need to let us know if these calls are happening, we will not be providing you with additional ones until that's done. It takes 2 minutes of their time to do it. So it's not really a big lift for them. It's just, they have a ton of things on their plate. So it understandably falls through the cracks, but we do try and stay really diligent there so that we can get as accurate data as possible.
Okay, and I have one other question. I think you did say this earlier, but how do you make sure that they're asking for the reference at the right time? I think you said there were some requirements before they can make the ask.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have it built into where they can ask in the sales cycle. So in our sales cycle, it needs to be in post demo, but essentially what that means is they need to have seen a demo before we'll put them on a call with a reference. There's always exceptions to those rules where they need manager approval if they want to go outside of that. But as far as sales references go, we will not provide one unless they have gone through a full demo and met with our sales team.
Okay, cool. We don't get a ton of requests and our sales cycle is longer than yours, but what often happens for me is that somebody will request a reference. I will find the reference, similar to your process, introduce them to the rep and let the rep handle all of it. And then like weeks will go by and I'm just like, what's going on with this reference? And they're like, I don't know, the prospect went dark. And I'm like, well, if the prospect went dark, I don't think a reference was like the right thing to be happening at this point. And so often it's like, we have people say that they'll do reference calls and then they just never happen. So I think this is helpful to put some guidance in place.
It definitely still happens to us. We do have that. And that's where that closeout process is actually really helpful for us as well. Is there sometimes where we have the same salesperson that put in a request for 3 references and then we see that all 3 of them canceled. And so it gives us an opportunity to reach out to them via Slack and be like, can you talk me through why all of these canceled? And then use it as an education process of, okay, like this is what the goal of references are. We want to be there. We want to be a partner to you. We want to help you get your deals over the line, but we also need to make sure we're protecting our references and making sure that we're not asking them to volunteer their time and then turning around and canceling on them. So we do have those conversations where if like I monitor the emails that come through. So every time I see a cancel, I reach out and I'm like, I need you to talk me through why this got canceled. And then depending on what they say, we'll then, share a response of like, in the future, let's make sure that this is where this prospect is at before you request a reference. So it's definitely something that we see as well.
Actually, to encourage, to kind of emphasize what Emily just said as well, the WIFM for that is when they use up that reference on a deal that's going nowhere, the next deal that they have that actually has a chance at closing, the reference is used up now. So it's helping them see it's like you need to preserve them for your own sake so that when you have the deal that actually has a real chance at closing, they're ready to go and they're happy to speak and not annoyed that you wasted their time on a dead deal a month ago. So
Yeah.
really just helping them see it. It's in their best interest to only ask when they really need it.
Yeah, good point.
And that is my absolute favorite Slack to get, when some salespeople are like, I should have submitted it for this one and not for this one. So they do start to realize it from a strategy perspective as well. And then actually based on the conversation, Ari, that you had on a call, gosh, I want to say back in like October, you were talking a lot about looking at what this does to velocity. And so what I've been trying to dig into as well is figuring out what this does, like what references do for our enterprise velocity, because those deal cycles are a lot longer. So something that I'm working on building out right now is an opportunity to meet with our enterprise sales leadership and talk about what our references do for their deal cycles, and possibly seeing if we can get references to be a stage within their deal cycle so that we can be a lot more proactive with them. Because that's something I think we struggle with, is that these enterprise deals are a lot more strategic and we want to put our best references forward. And so the more we can get with that conversation and keep those people on the back burner for when we need those strategic conversations, I think that will help us as well.
Even if it's not a stage, can you just go and because you're now linked to the opportunities through this, which is wonderful, can you just run a report and see the delta of those that have user reference versus those that haven't?
Yeah, and that's what I'm working on pulling together that reporting, and there's definitely no denying from a close rate percentage perspective that references are significantly increasing those percentages. But I think it's also looking at how we can get a more proactive seat at the table, so it's not okay, you used X reference for a deal.
I will say this. One of the pushbacks I got, because I started before I did the velocity, I started with look at the close rate, right? Look at the close rate. We're talking about like a 30% higher close rate when they use a reference. And I said, yeah, but that's because we're using references on those that we already know are going to close. So there was pushback. It's kind of true. All right, that's true. But so that there I said, okay, well, let's look at the rate then. Because I was trying to get clout behind the reference program, because the reference program is what I use as the door to get more budget and more opportunity to do other things, right? And to really get sales on your side. When you can show sales directly, you win them over. So yeah, that's just that's why the delta is that kind of key missing component, right? Just not that you don't already probably know. That was just the pushback I got for others. Yeah. You know,
no, that 100% makes sense, and that's useful information as I'm getting ready to put something together that I can share with that team. I think it's just trying to figure out how we can have a better seat at the table, because like I said a little bit earlier, a lot of times it's I need this and I need this yesterday. And so with enterprise deals, that's significantly harder, as I know all of you know too, but just trying to figure out how we can preserve the right people and strategically say, okay, we're on, your war rooms once per month or whatever that looks like. What are your top deals for the quarter, and how can we already line this up for you so we're not scrambling as soon as you guys need it?
Yeah.
No, good information to have.
Can
then looking at
another question? And I promise it's not that I just don't know these things, but I think it's important to point them out when we hear different programs. How did you initially start this and get these people involved? Did the CSMs help a lot with that, or what happened there that you got all these people involved enough that now customer success and sales come to you? I think that's a big obstacle for a lot of people as they start their advocacy programs. And it's great once you get to this point and you can put all these SLAs in there and tell them what to do. And I think we'd all love to be there and get there with our programs. But how did you initially get that start?
So Brittany De Diego Habel is like I said, the mastermind behind the whole program. The beginning of this program does predate me. So Britt, I don't know if you've got some expertise there. You can.
I mean, time is the number one thing. We launched our advocacy program, our references in the Torch Network in summer of 2018. So it takes a little while to get here. Also, alignment from leadership of the orgs that you need to partner with is key from the get-go. So our VP of sales and our VP of success were fully bought into developing an advocacy program. So their partnership went so far. But in the beginning, probably the first year or two, it was you're on the outside banging doors down and you're trying to control the wild west of sales. And you really did have to prove yourself and your value. So patience there. There were totally frustrating moments where I just felt like I kept having the same conversation with an AE or with a CSM or, the same people over and over again. I was hitting my head against a wall, but it's patience and time there. I mean, when we first launched the program, it was at our user conference, which was so tiny back then. I had one folding table and 50 hats that had our logo on it and a piece of paper that said, sign up if you're interested. So that is how our advocacy network, which now has over 1,000 members in it, started 4 or 5 years ago. So it just takes time and patience and then growing to scale. Even our reference system that Emily is continuing to evolve in Salesforce, it didn't start as mature as it is now. It started a lot more basic and we've continued to learn and add from it. And I'd say if you're launching these programs or getting ready to revamp them, a ton of discovery bought in from the end user. So get the partnership and buy-in from the leaders of these orgs and then spend time with AEs interviewing them, spend time with their managers interviewing them, the CSMs, their managers, like every tier, collect discovery at every layer to understand priorities within those teams, workflows within those teams, and then help build it to fit as much as possible. Because you are going to be the outside coming in and asking them for help and to support your function because we can't operate in silos. We're really dependent upon them. But if you try to build it in a way that fits, it's much more easy for them to adopt it.
Thank you.
That's my word on it that I hope answers that question.
It was. Thank you.
And I think also piggybacking a little bit off of Brittany, working with it now in a little bit more of a mature stage, is that we're making a lot of really great cross-functional partnerships, and that never stops. And that's my favorite part of this role, is the number of different people and teams that I get to work with. So the Spark sessions that I mentioned earlier, they have a group of about 4 facilitators. They're a fantastic group of people, but they're the ones that are meeting with our customers on a monthly cadence. And so they're speaking with them. And so I'm able to mine information from them. And so it's just kind of continuing to expand on those relationships. Brittany Burgess was a CSM before she transitioned into advocacy. So she's got phenomenal insight and partnerships there. And it's really like, I think the relationship development is a huge part of this. There are a lot of AEs that I've got a very great rapport with where they'll message me and are like, what are the chances I'm going to get a reference from this software? And I'm like, about 2%. And they're like, okay, I won't even. So it's like, we're able to have a lot of those really candid conversations as well, where I think Brittany did, a lot of the legwork as far as the top down, but as the day-to-day reference manager between Brittany and myself, it's a lot of those cross-functional relationship building efforts that I think have helped keep, us top of mind for all of them. And then also following the processes that we have because they work with us on a one-to-one basis so frequently.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the things I've brought to customer marketing is that in community, I was always like, I need to build my internal community to build my external community. And I do look at advocates as a smaller external community. So it's still that I have to have these relationships. And if anybody else has questions, please go ahead and jump in.
And then just a couple other things as far as metrics. So I can take no credit for this. Brittany has put together just the most beautiful metrics dashboard I've ever seen in my entire life. It's got more VLOOKUPs than my brain can even process a lot of the time, but it looks at a lot of different things. But the biggest things that we measure are the percentage of fulfillment. So how many references are coming in, how many of them are we fulfilling every single month? So we do have a target there of, we want to fulfill 90 to 95% of the ones that come in, and we avoid it all possible costs, saying like, no, we can't find someone. A lot of times we'll try and hit it with 2 references, or we'll try and back into it, or at least get someone that can speak to 3 out of the 5 things that we need. So that's kind of where we try and partner with them a lot to figure out, like, we can't get someone that ticks every box, but what can we do to get them the best call that will answer the bulk of their questions. We also look at fulfillment times. Like I said, our SLA is 4 days. We're currently operating around 2-ish days, and we always, I'm in a competition with myself every single month to beat it. And then we look at influenced close rate, so the CMRR that we influence and contribute to, and then also the dollar, like the percentage close rate there. So that's kind of the metrics that we're looking at. There are a ton of other ones, and we look at all of the data. We do also, Ashley, to your point, look at the data as far as how many of those references that we set up didn't run, how many of them canceled, how many of them had prospect no-shows, how many of them had reference no-shows. So looking at all of that data and drilling down in as well to make sure that we're continually iterating that process of, okay, this reference didn't show, let's not use them in the future, or, you know, continuing to have those conversations. So that is a lot of the metrics that we're looking at measuring there. And then I know on a call a couple of weeks ago, enablement was a big conversation. So there's a lot of things that we're doing as far as continued enablement goes. So we do have a Confluence page that we put together that has step-by-step instructions on how to nominate customers to join the Torch network, how to request references, how to close references. It is like a 15-page document that's got screenshots, it's got arrows, it's got, you know, pretty much everything that you could ask for there. And we do look at it quarterly and make sure that it is still up to date and accurate information for them. We do also attend sales war rooms to share program talk tracks and to speak about our references partnership and what we provide. We also speak to them about our contractor, Mike West. He is always chomping at the bit. If I don't send him more than like 10 references in a month, he'll email me and be like, it's been really quiet. So we do try and get him on calls as well, where he can speak to the value that he provides there. Last time I looked, he's got like a high 80s in the percentile for his close rate. So his close rate is absolutely phenomenal. So we definitely try and put that in front of them as much as possible. We do also do quarterly trainings with every new cohort of CSM. So we partner with Success Enablement and have a deck that we share with them that really talks about Torch Network and the value that it provides to their customers. We've got some really fantastic data on the significant increase in NPS and CSAT scores that we see for Torch Network members versus non-Torch Network members. So just kind of like Brittany said earlier, it's a very help me help you, where we have this program that we're constantly working to improve, and it really does help give them another line of defense as a success manager. And then we also have quarterly enablement that we're working on for existing success managers, just to make sure that they don't forget the processes and go outside of them. And then we do have, like I mentioned earlier, templates to set up every single call once an advocate does accept, so that they are communicating the right language and making sure that they can get those calls set up. And then within this as well, we do a lot of customer programming. So like I said, we have the customer community that we're running. So we've got a lot of different things that happen in there, exclusive content, guest bloggers, and then we have our Torch Network live event series. So trying to give them a lot of opportunities to network with each other and continue to find that value, and putting our faces in front of them as the people that are running the advocacy program, so that when they see emails come through for us, they're like, oh, I know that person, I will do a reference for them. So I think that's also helped, as well as getting on calls and really making our names and our faces known, so that they don't just ignore an email from us when it comes through.
Wow. I'm impressed.
Thank you very much. Like I said, it takes a village. So Brittany D put together a very fantastic program that I had the fortune of coming into and just trying to work alongside. And then Brittany Burgess is a fantastic counterpart. So, you know, it's a very much a team effort, and they make it very fun, but it's something that we're really excited to do, but it definitely takes a lot of people and a lot of effort. But yeah, so that's all I had. Sorry, I talked a lot. I could talk a whole lot more, but if anybody has any questions.
Any questions?
Do you have a feedback loop in case the reference, even though you did a check with the CSM, but the reference, sometimes there's something that comes out in that call? Is there some sort of feedback loop that you make sure you find out if there's an issue?
So there's not a really formal one. It does really exist in Slack or an email where if there are issues that come up on those calls, that they'll email us and let us know, or they'll Slack us and let us know. I do have some references that I'm really close with that will email me and like, I think I did a good job. I think they're going to sign. So, we definitely have that directly from references, but based on feedback from the calls, the AEs will loop us in and will let us know if there's anything that we need to address there as well. I think we've had the conversation around in that closeout process, including notes, but I think we would rather get it closed out so we can get that data rather than add another step to make it even more complex. So it's definitely a conversation we've had though.
Oh, awesome. And there was something else that I was just going to say. Oh, one of the things, when I was running one of my reference programs, the company had objectives for each of the departments. Sorry, the dog's under my chair and she's protecting me from this conversation. Apologies. She's a pug who thinks she's a pit bull. But anyhow, one of the things I did was I became really good friends with, like you said, you network internally with the customer, the key account manager, we called them. So it was the gentleman who ran the people who were working on accounts that already existed as customers. And we became part of their quarterly objectives. So if they recommended a case study, they recommended a reference, they got a point towards their objective. And so, of course, everyone rushed the last month, the last day of the month of the last of the quarter, but it's just an idea that it worked really well. So I didn't have to lay out any budget or anything like that. They got their objectives met and someone else swallowed the budget for it.
Yeah, so Brittany Burgess, actually, you were mentioning that on the call earlier. Do you want to speak to some of the success OKRs?
Yeah, actually, I'm super excited about this. We just got Advocacy as one of the CSM OKRs, and it's kind of points-based. So the success stories that they submit are worth 3 points, testimonials are worth 1 point, and then they have other things that can count too, like if they're in our certified administrator program and they complete the course, so on and so forth. So that's super, super exciting.
That's awesome. That will work well. Congratulations.
Can I ask so your advocacy program, is it mostly references or is this a part, like, do you have to do case studies and things like that as well?
So the beginning, it was predominantly references, but we really have been expanding it significantly. So the Torch Network live event series that I run falls underneath our umbrella. So we look a lot at engagement for that. So we do focus on every single month having an area of the product that we're covering and then looking at reporting of how utilization has increased over time based on what we shared as far as data goes there. And then Brittany Burgess does work on all of our testimonials, case studies, customer stories. So that is something that we are moving towards as well. Something that I had mentioned on a couple of calls ago is that we do have some difficulty when we share customer information around customer videos. And if they do any case studies or anything like that, contractors are very informal. They feel absolutely zero issue calling someone directly. So we've had instances where a customer has done a video with us. We put it on our website. It's really great. But then they've asked us to take it down because they're getting 20 calls a week from people being like, I see you're on ServiceTitan, tell us how you feel about that. So that's kind of where there is definitely a process that we're building out there. But yeah, so we do have case studies and customer stories and everything. And then like Brittany threw in there as well, the community team does roll up underneath advocacy as well.
Awesome. Wow, there's so much there. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of this.
It's a wonderful call. No joke. Like, absolutely love seeing the process, love seeing the strategy, the build out, the transparency. This is so helpful. I mean, it really is. And I also want to say, I'm really proud of you and the team for being able to accomplish this, right? It's not an easy feat to be able to get Salesforce enacted and to be able to track it the way you're doing and build out the SLAs and the common practice that you're doing. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you, honestly, and I think for a lot of us, Well, some of us, I think, and people that will watch this in the future, it's nice to see what a program looks like a few years in. I know with a few of the customers I have, like we're just building out their programs. And a lot of people are new to this space, so it's encouraging to see of how that program has developed over the last few years and what you've done with it. And I specifically like the idea of the way it sounds like you're using your tools. I think there's always room for companies to use their tools better. And I could just spend an hour listening to show me your tool setup because I get so excited about how to use your data and automations and all of that. I'm a real computer geek.
It's, I mean, I cannot speak highly enough of the dashboards and everything that Brittany's put together. She put together a new one because we just moved into FY24, and I believe my email response to her was, "It's the most wonderful time of the year." A new dash for me. So it's absolutely my favorite thing to look at. It's just all of the different data and everything. It's, yeah, my absolute favorite. And I think what's really great too about what has been built with the Torch Network and having it have the strong branding that it's got is that within ServiceTitan users, it is a really big point of pride for people that are a member of the Torch Network. So they do wear their swag really proudly. They get really excited when they're in. They definitely, want to make sure that people know that they're in Torch Network. And so I think that does us a great service, as well as that a program has been built and created that they're really, really excited and proud to be a part of. And so I think that makes our job even easier as well, because they're really excited to be in it too.
Yeah, that's awesome. And lots of people are thanking you in the chat in case you don't see that. And this is all recorded, so you'll be able to see all the chats and everything later as well. So yeah, I'm just so excited. This was fun to watch and have you share. Now I'm gonna have to have other people in the community share their programs. You're all next, just so you know.
I'll throw the slides into the Slack channel for anyone that it's helpful for. And then, if anybody has other questions or wants to see templates or anything like that, definitely feel free to give me a shout, and I'm happy to share anything additional, or if anybody wants to chat.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much. Next week, Emily Amos from Uplift Content is going to join and share the case studies report that we all filled out the survey for. The week after that, we have it's like instead of NPS, we're going to talk about how to do surveys instead with our customers. And then we have some things planned for March, which I can't remember off the top of my head. So you're just going to have to watch your emails. But thank you everyone for coming. And if anybody has any more questions, we've got like 5 minutes. So. No, yes. Okay. I'm drawing a blank on anything that. Oh, Daniel's leaving for a couple of weeks. We'll miss you. Have fun. Is it Monaco? Is that where you're going? I think it would really help if you showed pictures when you came back. So I feel like I've traveled some. Oh, Nice, right? Because I saw that on a movie once. It's not nice, it's Nice, right? Perfect. Yeah, that's all I really have for the week. It was so nice everybody come and see you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Kathy,
Yes.
hi.
Hey.
I'm gonna stop recording.